Well, hello everyone. So I have this last Ice and Roses red hellebores. I've planted two of them out, one in my front street bed that I just developed, and then one up here in this container. And I've got this last one left. So you may recall I bought three of these at clearance at Home Depot for $3.50 each. They were incredibly root bound, and you have to basically water these every day, and they're not taking up any water. It's like super dry, so just the water, it looks damp here, but then this is all roots, and it's very, very root bound. That's what I found from the other one I just planted. So I've got to get this in the ground because I'm sometimes gone away for a couple days at a time, sometimes longer, and this plant is really suffering. So you can see, if you take a look at these leaves, you can see how dried out they are. Probably cut those off. The blooms are suffering, drying out, you know. So I've really got to get this in the ground. So I thought today is a nice Saturday. It's a very nice spring day. We've had some showers, we've had some sun. Now it's just nice and overcast. The wind is picking up a little bit. So I have this area behind my back garden shed that I wanted to kind of develop as a secret shade garden. It is an area that not very many people see. So let's go back there and get this guy in the ground. Okay, so here we are at the back of the house, and this is the garden shed. It needs a bit of a wash after winter. But anyways, this is the hidden area that nobody sees. So it's a bit of a catch-all holding area. And if we just go up closer, you can see I have some leftover bricks, some broken bricks, a pot of something I bought that didn't survive that I was planning on planting out. Back there is a garbage bin behind the shed. There is a broken shelf that I use as a trellis for cucumber. And this little area is a triangle. And you can see, like, I planted some plants here that you can see. So here we have a Francis William hosta, which is doing really well. It's pretty beautiful. There's an astilbe here. So this is an astilbe and it flowers. Here is a juga. This is the Burgundy Glow ajuga, and it's really beautiful. Let's take a closer look at that. You can see a little bit of pink variation in the leaves. It's white edges. The flowers are a little bit lighter than the typical ajuga. So it's very pretty. I would love for it to take over this whole space. I'm hoping it spreads, and it's in bloom right now. Can't actually see that, but when you get a peek back here, it's really beautiful. And I have this fern I put here. So that fern seems to be doing really well in the spring when there's lots of rain, and it's ferns are typically do really well in wooded areas, woody forested areas, which we have a lot of here in the Pacific Northwest. So that I think is a good plant here. In the summer, it doesn't do as great because there's not a lot of water back here. So there's no irrigation. It's just relying on what falls from the sky and also what I water with the hose. So the fern doesn't do as great in the summer, height of summer. Here I have another astilbe. So I've actually got one here and one here. I think that was a white one. And there's another hosta that I divided from another area of my garden last year. So last year I had put in a pulmonaria right here, which did really well, but it didn't come back great. So you can see that there's the crown of the plant there. It doesn't look great, and just like one little branch came up. So this might not be the best spot for pulmonaria. So this is under a pear tree here. You can see the trunk here. And I also had three of the pumpkin spice heucherella, and you can see only one really came back well. The other one looks like it's still alive and it might have heaved, so I might have to plant that a little bit deeper, but there's no sign of the third one, unfortunately. So I think I lost one. I did put in this Jacob's ladder just recently, so I'm thinking that might do well there. That's the thing, is like just trial and error, right? See what you can try and see what works and what doesn't, and keep trying until you get it right? So yeah, here I have a lilac, a Miss Kim lilac, and that gets a little bit more sun. I did have a carex grass here that doesn't look like it did well over the winter, unfortunately. So maybe carex isn't a good plant from there. This used to be a beautiful Brunnera. Doesn't look like that came back at all. So I had a lot of losses in this area, and I know this is going to be a tough area to plant in just because it is under this pear tree. So obviously the pear tree is going to have a lot of roots, and there's going to be a lot of competition for water, so that's always a challenge. On the bright side, my bleeding heart alba, that's doing well. I'll put that in. It's a really small plant. I'm hopefully it'll grow. And then my lady's mantle is blooming. So look at that. That's looking really nice. See how it catches the water? Okay, this is my Winecraft smoke bush. Looking good. I've got some, I believe this is pincushion flower, and this is astilbe. I'm finding astilbe is really a great plant and does really well in the wetter areas of my garden, so I think I'm going to definitely be relying on that heavily. But for now, this is the secret shade garden that I was talking about, this little triangle area. And I did have this plant which was dying in its pot, so I put this in here. This plant is a yew, and I believe it is a Rising Star yew. So, you know, I looked it up, and it should be good for this spot because this spot does get a tiny bit of sun during the day, but not much. And you can see it was really suffering in its pot. So I'm hoping it'll still survive. I have hopefully not killed it. And I put it basically in front of this post here. So it's supposed to get about 2 meters tall. So it probably will get like up to here or so. And then it only spreads out, like it shouldn't spread out too much. So that's good. It's more tall than wide. So hopefully it'll like that spot. If not, well, I tried. I got it on clearance last winter and it was only $10. So if it doesn't make it, it's not the biggest loss, but hopefully it will. So now I'm gonna put my hellebores somewhere in here, and because it is so pretty, I think I'm gonna put it somewhere where I can see it, maybe next to this fern. I have planted hellebores in this garden bed here. The more expensive varieties, like the really fancy hellebores that were like $25 a pot, and none of them came back. So I'm not sure why. I don't know, like I figured this is a more shady area and they would do well here, but they didn't make it, unfortunately. But this plant, I don't feel bad because it's only $3.50 on clearance. So if I lose it, it's okay. I won't feel that bad, but hopefully I won't lose it and it will do well here. So I think I'm gonna put it right here because the soil is a little bit raised here. So I might have to remove some of that soil, which I don't want to do today because it rained and it's a bit heavy. So maybe I could just put it somewhere here and see how that goes. And I can always move it later, but let's get it in the ground. Okay, so I got it out of the pot. Actually, this was the easiest of the three to get out, so that's good. It wasn't difficult. I didn't have to cut the pot like I did for the first one, but I wanted to show you just how root bound this is. So look at that. All these roots are circling so tightly. You can see that it is not really taking up any water because there's just no room. That's the bottom. So, you know, I heard that hellebores don't like to be transplanted, but here I'm gonna have to rough up the roots just because I don't think it'll survive otherwise. I don't think these roots are gonna expand and they're not gonna really be happy. So I'm gonna do a really rough job with this tool, which is good for any gardener. This is a Fiskars. It's kind of like a hori-hori knife, I think that's what it's called, but basically it has a tip that you can use to cut, you can use to dig, you can use to weed, so it's a very helpful tool. It has a one side that is kind of more serrated and one that's straight edge, but I'm going to use this to kind of break up this pretty brutally, and then I'll show you my hack job as soon as I'm done. Okay, so after the massacre, this is what we have remaining. I basically had to cut off the bottom because it was so root bound there. So this is the bottom just cut straight off. And then I hacked at the sides, kind of opened it up as best as I can. You can see like these are the pieces that came off. So those I think will just decompose. I'll just let them compost in place. And then this is super dry in here. And it has some fertilizer. I'm not going to fertilize the hole or anything. I probably should have brought compost to put in there, but that's okay. I think this kind of soil is pretty good under the tree. And yeah, that's how it looks. So it needs definitely water. Probably should water the hole before I put it in there, but it did just rain, so I'll just water it after it's planted. Okay, so we've got that hellebores planted there. I think it looks really nice next to this fern. The textural contrast is beautiful. The colors are different, so there's that contrast as well. I think I'm gonna have to cut off some of the leaves, maybe the flowers, to let it kind of focus on root development, which is a little bit sad, but it's for the long-term health of the plant. And I was thinking, I have some leftover impatiens and might as well use those. Impatiens, they can do shade and they give you a lot of flower power. So I'm thinking of popping those in maybe around here, maybe behind here. Yeah, I have them, so why not use them? So here are the impatiens that I have some leftovers. This is the Amara Violet XDR, and you can see how vibrant that is, which is really nice. It'll catch your attention from far away. And they are, let's see, they plant in part sun or shade. So this is great because it's a very shady area. 10 to 12 inches, 25 to 30 centimeters apart, grows to 10 to 12 inches, 25 to 30 centimeters. So even though they're really small, they will get very large, about 1 foot or so. And I think that will be a really nice colorful pop back here. So I think I'll dot some throughout here and maybe even carry it under the tree here. Okay, so I put in some impatiens here, just dotted around this yew a little bit. I tried to give them enough space to grow and fill into their full potential. It is the first long weekend in May, so it's kind of the kickoff to the summer season. And usually our plants last until end of September, sometimes even beginning of October. So hopefully they'll grow in. And just panning over, I did put one down here as well. Just dotted a couple. One here, back there. My hosta's roots were exposed, so I put a little dirt around that. I also went ahead and planted this Heucherella pumpkin spice a little bit deeper. I think what happened is it heaved over the winter, and that's why it wasn't doing well. So hopefully that will recover, because I really love that one. And I put an impatien behind there, right here. And you can see a Heucherella, what it's supposed to look like. It's over here, and it's even throwing up a bloom stalk there with a white bloom. So it should look more like that by now. So hopefully that will recover. And you can see this is what one of the hellebores I had put in last year that didn't make it. So I have no idea why, but you can see that it's completely dead, unfortunately. And I noticed something was munching on my Francis William hosta back there, so I might have to put some snail bait or something out. I do save all the rocks that I dug up and put them somewhere else in the garden and reuse them. So I did have some of those. This Jacob's Ladder Heaven Sent, it was planted a little too high. I don't know what I was thinking when I planted it. And it was very root bound, so I replanted that as well. And exciting news is that I found Dusty Miller's not supposed to be hardy for me, and it looked really horrible. I cut it all the way back. I think all these stalks are from that Dusty Miller that I cut back, but it looks like it's growing back. So super excited for that. I'm gonna leave that. So that's a good reason for being lazy in your gardening and leaving things, because you never know. And when I was planting this little impatient here, I saw this little guy right here. Oops. And I think that is a Dusty Miller seedling. So I could be wrong, but I'm gonna let it go and see if that grows up to be a Dusty Miller seedling, because I did have Dusty Miller. I let it go to seed. So there's a beautiful lilac there. Smells so nice. It is definitely lilac season. Anyways, that is good work for today, and happy I got that done. And it was beautiful, breezy spring day. The sun has come out, so I'm gonna enjoy the rest of this Saturday. And with gardening, I always say, like, if you're like me and you need to pace yourself,
it's okay to have weeds. I have weeds everywhere, and I'm not going to get discouraged by that. I'm going to just let it be and just appreciate the beauty where I can, such as this lilac, and not sweat the small stuff. And I hope that you take that to heart in your gardening journey as well, because so much of this time we see professional gardeners and beautiful gardens, and it's okay if your garden doesn't look like that. I'm just an amateur home gardener, and my garden needs a lot of work, and that's okay. There's still a lot of beautiful things. And that's my black pearl heuchera over there, sending up its bloom stalks. So excited to see that. And that's all for today. Thank you so much.